Everyone, this is Lori Barnes and I'm back with another video for you. This is on the Virgo New Moon, bringing us renewed clarity and focus. The Virgo New Moon is coming up at the beginning of the week on Monday or Tuesday, depending on where you live. You'll want to check your time zone so that you can be sure to do your new moon intentions in the new moon phase. The new moon is going to be at 11 degrees of Virgo, and this is the chart of the new moon. Virgo is known for being organized, prudent, precise. It's a sign that likes to be of service and is often concerned with health and well-being. Virgo is known for being modest, is highly productive, and the time of the year of Virgo is the September harvest. Now that is for the Northern Hemisphere. The Southern Hemisphere is going into the spring, while the Northern Hemisphere is going into the fall. Some of the archetypes associated with Virgo are the service provider, the perfectionist, healer, and analyst. Virgo is known for being great at analytics, analyzing things. It is an earth sign. Virgo operates on practicality. It is of the mutable modality, which means that it's a sign of adaptability and flexibility. Some of the shadow characteristics that are associated with Virgo include being hypercritical, perfectionistic. There's maybe some compulsion, some obsessive compulsive type behaviors. There can be somatic issues that come up. Somatic meaning feeling like your body isn't well, but maybe it's an over-exaggeration. There can also be more anxiety and worry that comes with a lot of Virgo placements. The symbol of the sign of Virgo is the maiden, and you can see her here with the wheat sheaf, which represents the harvest. Virgo is about being prudent. It's about taking the harvest and discarding what is no longer needed. So we see that in the farmlands when people are working the land, that there is the fruit of the labor, and then there is the rest that gets thrown out. And that is a good analogy for Virgo. If you take it into the office, it's being productive. It's knowing how to prioritize things. It's being able to see when you're getting too far into the details, which Virgo tends to do. The Virgo new moon is a good time to recalibrate and focus. We are coming out of the Mercury retrograde cycle, and at the time of the new moon, we have Mercury is already direct, but it is still in its post-shadow phase. That is the time period when you are taking all the lessons that you learned from the Mercury retrograde and all of the improvements or the list of things that you're going to do that came out of the work that you did under the retrograde. So with the new moon, it's a really good time to get productive, to get on task, look forward now, where in the Mercury retrograde, we were looking to the past, we were reflecting and seeing what needs to be reworked, realigned. Now that Mercury's direct, but post shadow, it's time to start working on those things. Start implementing those things, start integrating those things into your task list, into your to-do list. The Virgo new moon has a T-square in the configuration, which you can see in the chart with the 3 red circles. There is the opposition, which is the new moon and the sun. You can see at the bottom of the chart in Virgo. They are across from Saturn, which is in Pisces, and you'll see Saturn at the top of the chart. What makes the T-square is we have Jupiter over there in Gemini. That's the 3rd circle that is in the middle between the two, and they form a T shape. So a T-square has some tension built into it, like the regular square, but it's bringing in these 2 different sides. The energy goes out into the square. So that's into Jupiter, and it can also go in the other direction, which is Sagittarius. You don't see it on the chart here. There's nothing actually in Sagittarius right now. That's the T, or you could say this, the cross. This tension that we're dealing with in an opposition, it's really more of like this back and forth, teeter-totter kind of thing. It's between balance, between your bigger vision and dealing with the details. Virgo is about the details. Pisces is about the bigger vision. We have the sun and the moon in Virgo. They're wanting to make the list and make sure that every task is accounted for. Saturn loves that. So there's some congruence there between Saturn and the sun and the moon in Virgo. Saturn in Pisces is looking at the strategy for the big picture, the big vision. We have the square coming in with Jupiter's square to both Saturn and the sun and the moon. That brings some tension between growth and discipline. So these these are the things that you want to think about as we're going into the new moon. When you are doing your new moon intention settings, you want to think about that. You want to think about the bigger vision, but then the details, like how am I going to get there? What are the steps I'm going to use? Then you have Jupiter that's like, yeah, let's go big. Let's have this big vision. You'll have Saturn and the sun moon opposition saying, well, is that realistic? How do we do that? How can we make that happen? This is a good kind of tension. I like squares because they're action oriented. They make things happen. So this is a really productive time. You can really like get deep into a project. And while you're working on whatever you're working on, I mean, even a relationship with somebody, it can be a relationship, it can be a project, it can be work, it can be home. Depends on, of course, where these planets are in your chart. But what you'll have is the big picture vision along with the execution, the strategy, the details. This is a productive configuration, and it's a productive kickoff to this new moon phase. With Mercury going direct, it's all hands on deck. It's time to get busy. It's time to get productive. This is going to be a great new moon to get yourself focused and to get busy in doing some of the work. Go harvest whatever it is that's going on in your life that needs to be harvested. The Mercury retrograde post-shadow phase will end on September the 12th. So that's the time that you have to work on that. Mercury went retrograde in Virgo. It went back to Leo, and now it's going forward again in Leo. It is going to move back into Virgo on September 9th. So if you wanted to have an idea of where Mercury is traveling in your chart, there you go. Mercury is also in a square relationship to Uranus at the new moon, which you can see in the diagram. This is a fast-moving aspect. Mercury moves pretty quickly, and it's not going to stay here for very long. But this will be in place at the new moon, and what it can do is bring sudden ideas or even disruptive ideas, some ideas that you didn't expect. They can be new, they can be brilliant, they can be way different than what you have ever thought of before. That's Uranus. This configuration may challenge you to break old habits, to break old patterns. So do notice if you start feeling resistant to some of the new ideas that come in, or if you're trying to hang on tightly to how things have always been, when there's some new energy coming in that could actually bring great things to you if you're willing to do things a bit differently. My advice to you is to embrace innovation, embrace new perspectives. And remember that squares are tension, and that's because it usually takes some sort of tension to get us to take action, and we need to take action in order to make progress. This is a good time to have these new ideas. I'm saying ideas because Mercury is a planet associated with the mind, with learning, with communication and commerce. So a lot of these disruptions or sudden changes that you may experience in a Mercury square Uranus configuration will be in your head. It'll be in your mind. And now that Mercury is newly direct, like you could just be flooded with a lot of new ideas. The planet Venus is going to move into the sign of Libra. This is a wonderful thing because Libra is one of Venus's home signs. Venus will be in Libra from August the 29th through September the 23rd. And during this time, you can work on Venusian things intentionally, knowing that you're bringing in some of that Venus Libra vibe into whatever it is that you decide you want to do. You can work on a relationship. You can try to bring more harmony into a relationship. You may do things that bring you pleasure. Venus is the planet about pleasure. What makes you feel good? What makes you feel like you look good? Venus has some associations with vanity, so it may be a time where you want to change the way you look, something that makes you feel good, that boosts your confidence. And it's really about what makes you feel beautiful. It's not about trying to look beautiful for others, although Venus is very much about the other, and so is Libra. So of course, it's hard to tear that apart. But what's important is if you're doing something to improve how you look and it has to do with changing your hair or makeup or clothes, make sure that it's something that you love, not just something that you think other people are going to like. It's really important that you do that for you. And then other things that are related to pleasure, like what makes you feel good? What music do you like to hear? Do you like to go out dancing? Like think about things like that. Venus in Libra is just a really lovely configuration. It's a really good time to work on any type of relationship, and that can be with your romantic partner, but it can be at work. Maybe there's some sort of relationship issue that needs to be resolved. If you do it while Venus is in Libra, you can tap into some more harmony and fairness, diplomacy. These are things that are related to Venus. Take advantage of this time period in September while we have Venus traveling through her own sign. The planet Pluto is going to retrograde from Aquarius back into Capricorn for the very last time in our lifetimes. Pluto moves very slow. It takes 248 years for Pluto to go all the way through the zodiac. Because Pluto went into Aquarius and then retrogrades, it's been doing this back and forth thing between Aquarius and Capricorn for the last year. This retrograde cycle will be the last time that Pluto retrogrades back into Capricorn. That is going to activate your placements that are in late degrees of the cardinal signs, and that is Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Not everybody is going to have placements in the last degrees of a cardinal sign. But if you do, then you have been working with this Pluto and Capricorn energy for the last few years. Really, if you're 28 or 29 degrees of a cardinal sign, this last year has been highly intense. When Pluto goes back into Capricorn on September the 2nd, just before the new moon, it is going to activate the same placements that it has been activating for the last year. This is going to be more of a wrap up of what has happened, whatever change, transformation, renewal. Pluto often indicates big change. And of course, what that will look like depends on where it's happening in your chart. But this isn't going to be something new because it's going back from Aquarius into Capricorn for the last time. It's more like wrapping up or reflecting or integrating what your experience was. This will be like the final wrap up. And then it will go direct and it will go back into Aquarius on November the 19th and it will not return. So this is it. This is the final phase of Pluto and Capricorn. Reflect on the last 1 to 2 years. That's what I would do if you have placements in this part of your chart. If you don't, this Pluto retrograde into Capricorn could come and go and you don't even notice it. So it really depends on your chart. We have the planet Mars moving into the sign of Cancer. That's going to happen on September 4th, right after the new moon. At this point, Mars is going to go from the air sign of Gemini, which is one of Mercury's signs, into the water sign of Cancer. Now, remember that Mercury has been retrograde. So while Mars was traveling through Gemini, the ruler of Gemini was retrograde. That means the way that we took action or the way that we were getting things done may have felt scattered. There was constant distractions and really hard to stay focused. It was kind of like I started this and then that and then that and that and that. And then I forget to get back to that, maybe a bit confused or confusing with how you're physically taking action and getting things done. When Mars moves into Cancer, it has to express itself through the sign of Cancer. Now, Cancer is a cardinal sign, so it's definitely one that's going to be more focused, but Cancer tends to do things in a more indirect way, kind of like the crab. It's moving sideways. So this can mean that your energy or your drive to get things done may be less direct and can be even more passive aggressive, you could say. You will likely want to take that ability to focus your physical action, the energy that's driving your physical action. And through that focus, it'll probably be on things that are more meaningful to you because it's Cancer. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention to you, just so you can prepare ahead, is that Mars is going to go retrograde in December. The Mars retrograde cycle happens every 2 years. It's a rare retrograde event, making it one of the most potent types of retrogrades that we experience. Mars is going to be retrograde from December 6th until February 25th of next year, 2025. And it's going to cover the degrees of Leo back to Cancer. That is why I'm bringing this up now, because Mars is moving into Cancer. So once we get about halfway through September, or the later half of September, Mars is going to get to that 17th degree of Cancer. I would recommend that you start paying attention to your physical energy, how you get motivated to get things done. By paying attention to what's going on with you in late September, October, and November, you're going to get a preview of what is likely going to come up during the Mars retrograde. So you pay attention to your physical energy. Are you starting to feel slower? Are you more motivated to focus on a specific thing? Pay attention to that. And then when Mars goes retrograde, see if those same themes come back up again during the retrograde. Everything that I've talked about today, you can get a whole lot more out of this information if you're familiar with your chart. Get a copy of your chart. Hopefully you already have it, but if not, I have a couple of links here that you can use. And look for the glyphs, and you can see what house that sign is occupying. And then you can read about the different houses and the topics and themes associated with those houses, and it's going to give you a lot more information. Take a snapshot of the slide if you want, find where these all fall in your chart. That's going to give you a lot more information. Here are some activities for you to do with the Virgo new moon. First of all, make sure you're doing your new moon intentions during the new moon phase. So be sure to check your time zone and when the new moon phase starts. So I have 3 ideas for you. First, declutter and organize. Very Virgo thing. Do it at home, do it at your work, do it in your garage, on top of your desk, whatever makes sense to you. Clear out what no longer serves you. That can be a great thing to do next week under the new moon phase in the sign of Virgo. The second thing, set practical goals. That is truly a Virgo thing as well. And it fits nicely with that T-square we talked about earlier. Make sure that goals that you're setting are in alignment with your longer or your big vision of what you want to do, your long-term big vision. But when you're setting your goals, since it's Virgo, you want to do like a to-do list. You want to have specific things that you're going to do, when you're going to do them. Having a good to-do list is going to help you stay on track. And then the last thing is do a health and wellness check. You want to think about your current well-being plan. Do you have a plan? Do you have a self-care plan? Put one in place if you don't. There's lots of things that you can do for your health and well-being. You can start a new workout routine. You can see a massage therapist. You can do a fast or a cleanse. You can go to the doctor. You can seek out a naturopath. Whatever's going to work for you. But that is one thing that I would recommend that you do next week, is to do a check-in with yourself and do something healthy for your body. This month's quote for you for the new moon is from Marie Kondo, who is the organizational queen. So it makes sense to hear from her. And she says, the best way to find out what we really need is to get rid of what we don't. Clear out that clutter. Thank you, Marie. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be back in a few weeks with another video for the next full moon, which will also be a lunar eclipse in Pisces. I offer consultations in astromapping, coaching, and astrology business. Thank you. I'll see you next time. Ciao.